I remember there was this one night in London. I was sleeping in my home and I suddenly heard my heart beating. And I could hear it beating faster and faster and faster. And it was increasing my anxiety even more. It felt terrifying, where I felt like I was having chest pains, I was struggling to breathe. I thought I was actually having a full-blown heart attack. In a panic, I jumped out of bed, I ran across the corridor outside my home, and I knocked on my neighbor's door and I said to her, "Help, help, I need help. Can you call the paramedics? I need help. I'm having a heart attack." I went back into my flat. She came running down the corridor. She called accident emergency, and before I knew it, they were in my flat in London. They completed all the tests and they said, "Right, we're going to take you to the hospital now so that you can get some more tests done there and you can get a good diagnosis." And there I was in the hospital, not my most favorite place to visit, by the way. And I waited for about 4 hours and they did lots of blood tests and I spoke to the nurse and they took a history, and I found myself at the end of 4 hours in a consultation room. And in walked this very slender Iranian doctor. And he looked at me through his glasses at the bottom as I lay there on the consultation bed. And he said to me, "Madam, you are in perfect health. You need to do yoga. It will calm you down." As he said those words to me, I kind of chuckled to myself that here I was in a hospital in England and a medical doctor was telling me to do a yoga retreat. You know, I was already into alternate therapy. I trained coaches at the time. And even now I train emotional freedom technique practitioners. I train healers. And I'm getting like the same advice being given back to me. And he reassured me. He said, "You're not having a heart attack. We've checked your enzyme levels. We've checked your ECG. You had something known as an anxiety attack or a panic attack where you just got anxious for some reason. You started to breathe rapidly and that caused you to feel uncomfortable. You just need to find strategies to help calm you down." So my name is Dr. Rangana Rupavi Choudhuri. I am founder of Vitality Living College, and I train and certify coaches, healers, and practitioners to make a difference to the lives of others and have thriving practices. So what is our topic for today? It is what is anxiety and how to overcome it. Now, I want you to know that it is perfectly natural to feel anxious. It is the body's response to stress. And a variety of different reasons can cause you to feel anxious, worrying about the future, thinking too much, or maybe overanalyzing situations, feeling overwhelmed at work, maybe scared about your child's health. Sometimes it can also be about chemical imbalances in the body or fear of what might happen. So this is a natural response. Now, when it becomes a problem, though, is when it prolongs beyond that. I'm going to share a little bit more about that in a moment. And if you stay to the end, I'm also going to share you some tips and techniques that you can use to help cope with anxiety. Or if you are already a therapist or a counselor, some tips or techniques I'll make you aware of that you might want to explore further to help your clients feel calmer within seconds. I just want you to know, though, you are not alone, because sometimes, when you're feeling anxious or you're having an anxiety attack or you're feeling out of sorts, your family members don't understand, the people in your life don't understand, your work colleagues don't understand, and you can feel isolated. I want you to know that there's 1 in 13 people in the world, according to the World Health Organization, that suffer from anxiety. And this particular label is more women are more affected than men are. Now, there are also 3 different categories of anxiety disorders. So an anxiety disorder is when the anxiety is for a longer time, it is now beginning to take over your life, it's feeling more intense, it can be debilitating. where you feel you're not able to function. And if you're unsure, and I would recommend it anyway, go get a diagnosis from a mental health professional who knows what they're doing. If you're concerned in any way about the topics that I'm talking about during this video, always err on the side of caution, get a good mental health diagnosis. Now, in extreme cases, it can prevent you from entering an elevator. It can prevent you from crossing the street. I know I had that after I had an accident when I was crossing the road in India. And I went up in the sky, and then I kind of compacted on the road on my bottom, and I fractured my coccyx, tailbone, and sacrum. And after that episode, I had this kind of stress response where I get so anxious, I'd clutch onto my mother's hands really tight the minute, I had to cross the road. And then I would get very anxious. Oh God, I've got to cross the road. Am I going to do it? And of course, I used a therapy treatment, which I will share more with you, that helped me become much more confident in myself, confident in crossing the road, and to not let anxiety control me, but for me to be in control of my own emotional state. If left untreated, it can get worse. Now, the 3 different categories of anxiety-related disorders. The first is generalized anxiety disorder. This disorder happens to be a common anxiety disorder, and it involves kind of chronic worrying. The second is a panic disorder, which is the type of thing that I was happening, where it even went to the extreme where I couldn't go on the underground, the metro, the tube. I'd go down the steps, and then I would just clamp up because I would feel so scared. The minute I would see, the barrage of people coming towards me, I thought something bad was going to happen. So panic disorder is another example where there's terror accompanied with panic or anxiety attacks. And they can occur out of the blue, and they can be quite frequent for some people. They can also be less frequent. I mean, I was having these kind of panic attacks as well as part of my sort of pre-menopausal symptoms, where suddenly I'd be sort of sleeping. I remember I was in Bali. I'd wake up in the middle of the night feeling the racing in my heart, feeling uncomfortable, feeling bloated. I would sort of jump out of bed. I'd go, put myself under the shower just to calm myself down. I would sit, and then I used to do a technique known as EFT, which I'll share with you a little bit more in a moment. The third type of sort of major anxiety disorder is known as obsessive compulsive disorder. And this is due to sort of compulsive behavior. The sort of more well-known examples are sort of obsessing about washing the hands. You kind of wash the hands, it's not enough. I need to wash the hands again, or I close the door. Did I close the door? Let me check. Is the door closed? I lock the door. I check the door is locked again. And so there's some kind of obsessive behavior that needs to happen over and over again. And the act of doing that behavior also kind of creates this sense of anxiety as well. In addition to these 3, there's of course phobias, where there can be excessive fear of a specific object, a situation or an activity. There can be social anxiety disorder, which is fear of being judged in social situations. So they kind of avoid being out in social situations. There can also be separation anxiety, and this may have actually increased during this time, which is fear from being away from home or fear from being away from a loved one, for example. And the final 2 are illness anxiety disorder, which is having anxiety about your health, that you might fall ill, you may develop an illness. And I've known like a couple of people that I've known in our circle, they may have had, for example, anxiety of getting the label cancer or anxiety of getting the label arthritis, for example. And the final sort of classing here is anxiety as a result of post-traumatic stress disorder. And post-traumatic stress disorder happens when you have some kind of extreme stress in your life, like losing a loved one. It's very common from veterans that come back from the war if the past experience they had were traumatic in any way, and they can come back from the war and they can have this kind of restlessness, this anxiety, this an inability to sleep, waking up, startle response. So these are the different types. So you might be asking yourself, what can you do? I mean, what can you do? Say if you're faced with anxiety, what is it that you can do? What are some of the different ways that you can help and support yourself? So one of the first ways that you can support yourself is to break down your daily goals into small little tasks. And when you do this, it's like your day becomes much more manageable. Otherwise, it can feel very overwhelming. What's the second thing that you can do? The second thing that you can do is meditate. Now, I absolutely love meditation. Well, I love it today, but there was a time when I didn't like meditation. I found it boring. I would sit down to meditate and all the different tasks would come into my head. I couldn't concentrate. And whereas now I just like to close my eyes. I focus on my breath initially. I breathe in, I breathe out, and I just notice myself kind of falling into this very calm state of complete bliss. Now, if you were like me though in my early days, and you found it hard to meditate, then this next technique that I'm going to share with you, which is known as 6-count breathing, you might find quite useful, the 6-count breathing method, where you breathe in for 6 counts and you breathe out for 6 counts. Just give me a moment. I'm actually just going to have a little sip of water. And if you're watching me as well, you can go ahead and take a little sip of water too. I'm so parched today. It's a lovely, lovely sunny day. So let me talk about this 6-count breathing. With not breathing, but breathing. Sometimes my words come out all wrong. So 6-count breathing. Let's do it together right now. So just go ahead and take a moment just to take a breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And now with the 6-count breathing, what I want you to do is to breathe in through the nose for 6 counts. And out through the nose for 6 counts. In through the nose. Out through the nose. In through the nose. Out through the nose. Beautiful. That's the first step. Now the second step is to breathe in through the nose for 6 counts and out through the mouth for 6 counts. Let's do that together. These are the first 2 steps of 6-count breathing. And if you liked 6-count breathing, what you can do is look down in the description here. And in the description, you will find a link to my YouTube video where I have done all the different steps of the 6-count breathing. Because the first step is to breathe in through the nose, out through the nose. The next step is to breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. The next step is to hold a particular point on the fingers. It's known as the 9 gamut point. To hold that point and place the hand on the heart to make an electromagnetic connection with the heart. And what this allows, it allows the body, mind to relax. And holding off this point, known as the 9 gamut, releases the freeze response, the freeze, flight, trauma response that can happen, when you're faced with any kind of trauma. So by holding it and breathing in and out at the same time, it just allows the body to relax. And then the next part is holding the heart hold, and doing the 9 gamut together. So if you would like to experience that process for yourself, just go ahead and click on the link down in the description, and feel free to subscribe as well. You'll notice the red subscribe button down there, because if you subscribe, then you're able to get my next tip and technique as well. So what's the next thing that I want to share with you, which is step 3. Now, step 3, of course, is to seek help. And if you have a mental health professional of choice, a psychologist, a counselor, a therapist, then by all means get in touch with them, get a good diagnosis, and ask them what their proposed treatment plan is. In my case, we have highly qualified EFT advanced practitioners. And I recommend actually working with an EFT qualified practitioner, with a professional, because EFT is a technology that's clinically proven to lower anxiety, to lower stress, and to lower tension. And I'll share more with you about that in a moment. So what's the next tip or technique? It's yoga. To do some kind of body movement or exercise if yoga isn't your thing. And some people love the kind of rigorous, more kind of asana type yoga, whereas some people like the more relaxing kind of breathing, or even just the lying down yoga. You pick the type of yoga. There's no kind of, I need to do the hard yoga because only then it's real yoga. You pick the one that feels right for you, whether it's 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 hour, you pick the routine that's right for you. But what happens with yoga is it actually starts to get the body to relax, and then it gets the mind to relax through relaxing the body. So yogic, any kind of body movement is very, very powerful to relax the body and mind of anxiety. Now, what's the next thing that you can do? So but the fifth kind of way that you can support yourself to help cope with anxiety is a therapy known as cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, where it's a treatment that's used to manage anxiety and depression. It's a type of talk therapy where negative thoughts are reworked with positive thoughts. And now to the sixth way to defeat anxiety. And of course, it's my favorite, and it's what I also teach. And I professionally certify people in this particular technique. It's known as emotional freedom techniques, also known as EFT or EFT tapping, or tapping on its own. Sometimes people get a little confused. They search for EFT and they find a website on electronic fund transfer, or they click on tapping and they find something to do with guitars and music. But, if you search for EFT tapping, search for emotional freedom techniques, you'll find out more about it. But also in the link below, I have a free booklet on EFT. It's got a blue cover and it's called Heal Your Emotions to Heal Your Life. And in that booklet, you will find lots of information on the science of EFT. You'll find information on the clinical proof of EFT because, EFT is, of course, clinically proven. And the studies that have been done on EFT has been on people who've come back from the war, so on PTSD. And within 6 sessions, for example, 91% of the post-traumatic symptoms come down. The studies have also been done on public speaking anxiety, because public speaking anxiety is a very common anxiety. Can you imagine if you work in an office and your job actually depends on speaking to your colleagues, on speaking to teams, on speaking to customers, on speaking to the board members, and there you stand up or you get on your kind of online call and suddenly you're gripped with this anxiety and the words just don't come out. You feel so silly and so stupid. And with a technique like EFT, you can actually heal that. It's a treatment, it works, and it's very effective. Within 6 sessions, I expect this. In fact, in our training programs, some people within 20 minutes overcome their fear of public speaking. Now, the second area that EFT has been clinically proven for is test-taking anxiety. So if either you're a mum or a dad, you've got kids, you've got teenagers that maybe get anxious at the thought of taking exams, or get anxious leading up to, studying for their test, and EFT is very effective to bring that down. And as an adult, if you're taking a driving test, or maybe some kind of a job interview or a job test, a psychometric test, a technique like EFT will make you feel calmer within seconds. Now, the next area, which is, perfect for someone like me that is not someone who loves to go and get surgery or go to the hospital, EFT is fabulous pre-surgery. So there was a study done on 50 women undergoing surgery, and the participant received 2 10-minute sessions a day before surgery and on the day of surgery, just before the participants were taken into surgery. And what they found was there was a significant decline in anxiety, because when you walk into theatre or you're wheeled into theatre and you're in a calm state and your stress hormones are down, you're much more likely to be able to heal quicker from that surgery as well. You might be wondering right now, though, what are the different steps to EFT that help with anxiety? So I'll give you a summary here, and you've got much more details down in the description. There's quite a detailed blog that's been written that lays out, on the different steps, more information about it. So step 1 is to explore the physical symptoms. So with anxiety, you can have heart racing, you can have legs shaking, a feeling of restlessness. So you would identify what some of the physical symptoms are, and then use the EFT tapping process to reduce those symptoms where, the heart is no longer racing, the palms are no longer sweaty, where you feel a sense of calm and relaxation. Now, step 2 is to identify past memories related to the symptoms of anxiety, related to, the heart racing or the palms getting sweaty, because you use the symptoms as a springboard to inquire, when might you have felt those feelings before? And you start to kind of unpeel some of the surface and deeper memories before you get to the root cause of what put the anxiety in place in the first place. Step 3 is to now explore the deeper root cause memories. So these are the memories, and they tend to be sort of early on in life. They can be pre-age 6, they can be the teenage years, they can be young adulthood as well, where you explore, as a past you, what were the experiences that happened that caused you to feel anxiety later on in life, that triggered anxiety? I'll give you some examples of some of the clients I've worked with, or some of the students that have attended our training. Some examples include where there's surface anxiety as a child. The child may have been shouted at by a parent, by a mother, by a father, by a teacher. They could be fighting with the brother, with the sister, and it causes a stress response where, if that response is going to be triggered, like say, for example, in the workplace, and they can tell their boss is getting angry now, and it triggers, it's like, oh my God, I'm anxious now. I don't want to experience that past trauma that I had with my parents. What's going on? And the anxiety comes into play as a protection mechanism. Other examples when I worked on, can be early forms of sexual abuse, verbal abuse. It can be a parent saying, shut up. It can be a teacher saying, you're bad. You're never going to do well in exams. You're such a failure. It can be a humiliation. It can be being laughed at, by the kids in school. So many little tiny things can happen that can trigger anxiety later on in life. And one of my favorite ways to do it is actually to combine working with the inner child, the past you. And I teach something known as inner child matrix. And with inner child matrix, you go back to the past, you make a connection with the past you that felt anxious. And then you use the EFT tapping process to clear the emotional charge. Then after clearing the emotional charge, you reset that past memory. And once you've reset that past memory, you then create the future and the future way of being. And as you create that future way of being, it's like that past memory can be finally put to bed. And so by making a past connection with the inner child, you're able to reset it, but you're also able to positively program the nervous system so that if ever you're triggered in the future, you no longer have to have that stress response, the anxiety response. So what is step 4? Step 4 is actually healing the root memories, because there can be more than one sometimes. Sometimes there can be some at childhood, sometimes there can be some in the womb, sometimes some in conception. And depending on the person's belief system, from my experience, sometimes people have past life memories as well. And then after step 4 is step 5, where you explore limiting beliefs, because there can be thoughts like, it's not safe, the world is not safe, I'm a failure, I'm just not going to succeed. No matter what I do, I can't seem to get anywhere. And the limiting beliefs can be at the cognitive level or the level of thinking, or they can be at the deeper level, the level of the unconscious. And when you uncover what the limiting beliefs are, you can use the EFT tapping process to actually clear these particular limiting beliefs. Now, step 6 is positive tapping. And it's wonderful to be able to do positive tapping because it's very energizing. And the only health warning I'll give you is that if you're either, familiar with therapy and you're learning EFT, you're becoming familiar with it, or perhaps you're, exploring this video for self-help, is we recommend not to do positive tapping till, the charge of anxiety has come down. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to do some positive tapping with all of us, okay? Just to kind of close the 6 steps so you can just tap along with me as well. So even though, and repeat after me, even though I feel anxious sometimes, that was then, this is now, I choose to feel calm anyway. Suppose somehow I could feel calm. I welcome feeling calm. I'm so lucky I feel safe. I'm so happy that my nervous system can relax now. I choose to feel calm. I welcome feeling safe. I choose to feel happy now. And just take a breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And to learn more about the positive tapping sequences, you can look at my blog article as well, which is in the description below. So these are, in summary, the 6 different steps with EFT tapping. Now, one of the other techniques that I teach and I absolutely love is known as Jyutsu. And it's based on an ancient Japanese medicine technique where you hold the thumb. And the reason that you hold the thumb is that in Japanese medicine, the thumb is the energy of anxiety. And so what you do is you hold the thumb just with the other. It can be any thumb, so this thumb or this thumb. And you kind of embrace it with the hand. And you first notice, is there a pulse there? Let me just check. Do I have a pulse? You're alive, by the way, whether you can feel your pulse or not. So I check mine. I can feel a pulse. If you don't feel a pulse, it doesn't matter. You're still alive. You're okay. That just means you don't feel a pulse. And so I check, is there a pulse there? And I focus my energy on the pulse. And I feel myself breathing. And I just feel that thumb, and you can do it with me now. And I notice myself to relax. So this is an instant anxiety relief. Hold the thumb, and you can hold it for up to 20 minutes. You can hold it while watching television, watching Netflix, maybe going for a walk. So you can do other activities, not driving though. You want all your fingers available when you're driving. And you can do it. So if you are gripped by anxiety, I would recommend you do it on waking every morning, and definitely on going to sleep at the end of the evening as well, just as you're going off to sleep. I highly recommend you do that. Okay, so if you want to get freedom from anxiety, in summary, what are some of the things you can do? The first thing is you can, have small little goals for yourself every day. The second thing that you can do is you can meditate. And if you're someone that, has a chatty mind, you can follow along with my 6-count breathing. What's the third thing you can do is you can do yoga. And you can do physical activities that help relax the body-mind. The fourth thing that you can do is you can explore seeking help with someone and getting external support, because sometimes we need external support. The fifth thing that you can do is you can explore therapy known as cognitive behavioral therapy. And the sixth thing that I recommend is to explore emotional freedom techniques. And you can explore emotional freedom techniques in one of 2 ways. First is to actually get one-to-one treatment with a practitioner. And if you would like to explore that, just send us a quick message back and we will get you in touch with one of our highly qualified practitioners who, hand on heart, I recommend myself. Or the second thing you can do is attend our EFT practitioner training. And down below in the description, you will find a link to a discovery call. It's completely complimentary, where you can speak to one of our in-house coaches, and they'll have a conversation with you and they'll work out with you whether EFT practitioner training is right for you or not. And during EFT practitioner training, you can learn the technique for yourself, or you can learn the technique to become professionally qualified to work with other people too. So there you have it. This is the link, the bit link. So it's bit.ly, so bit.ly, EFT practitioner training. And again, that link is down below so that you can go ahead and click on it. Leave me a comment. Let me know how you found this today, what you got from it. Let me know what would you like next. What are some of the other videos you would like me to launch? I'm really eager to learn that from you. I love sharing this with you. I look forward to hanging out with you on my next video. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.